Hello and welcome to Angie B Crafts. So today is the first of a series that I am calling Tag Tuesday. Sounds really twee, but hey ho, we're going to give it a go. So here we have a tag, MDF tag, which is 8 inches by 4 inches total size. I believe this one is from a company called Crafty Devils. I seem to have rather a large stash of their tags. I'm just going to use some Pebeo Studio Acrylics white gesso to just provide a base coat onto my tag. So why do you put gesso on when you've got a perfectly good surface? Well, gesso in the grand scheme of things is a relatively cheap form of paint. It's like your undercoat. You use it so that you're not, particularly with MDF, which is, it's kind of like a sponge, it sucks all of the paint into it, and if you're using your expensive paints, is an expensive way to actually decorate it. I'm just taking a lump out of the gesso there. I'm getting near the end of my tub, as you can see, so I'm kind of getting a few lumps and bumps in it from a couple of years of using it. Okay, so there we have our MDF tag. Now if you want to, you can do several layers of gesso. Personally, I tend to just do one, just to act as a base coat. I'm not overly worried about the colour coming through because I'm going to be adding more paint on the top of it. It is purely to prevent your more expensive paint from being sucked into the actual MDF and you're wasting it. So I shall clean up this workspace and then I will come back to you. One gessoed tag. I've just used the heat gun to take off most of the moisture, but it still is a little bit damp. There's still, particularly where it's gone in the hole and things, it's a little bit thick. Now if you don't want that hole to actually be filled with paint, you can do something as simple as just pop a brush through it and you can see it's taken it back, and then you can just give your brush a wipe off on your raggy. Just the end of the brush is really useful for getting rid of that. You might also see there's some bits here that you don't want, so again, just use your finger. Don't be afraid to get in there and get your finger in. Now I've not gone round all the edges with the gesso, and the reason for that is twofold. Number one, it takes time, and number two, there's a really high probability that I'm going to end up using an alcohol marker or some alcohol ink around the edges, so there's no point in popping the gesso on there because I want it to be dark, so I don't want to put a white base on. So we'll see how that ends up. So I'm going to use my gloss sprays from Dina Wakley. So I've picked out a few colours, some of the brighter colours. I've got some of my backups there as well. If you've seen any of my other videos, you'll notice I do use these a lot. They are a firm favourite. Now, ideally, what you would do is get your box and put stuff in it and spray it. But I actually like this to be totally flat. The bottom of my box at the minute isn't totally flat, and I want this flat. I want to dictate where it's moving, and if your box isn't completely flat, it's more difficult to do that. And plus, I actually enjoy the clearing of the mat when I've got gloss sprays on it. It's quite a relaxing thing to do. So I'm going to start off with the lemon. Now I've got two bottles here, and the reason for that is this one stopped working. This is my new bottle, so what I'll do is when this comes down a bit is fill it up with what's left in here. So I tend to have a couple of bottles on the go with these. They can get clogged, you can clean them out. I have previously done a video on how to, so just take a look at that. But I love these. Now this is an acrylic paint. You can hear it's got a ball in it. You can see on the bottom it's whiter. If I show you on one that I've not already started mixing, you can see it's white on the bottom. So you need to try and mix that. It doesn't have to be perfectly mixed, but you want to get rid of a fair bit of it to know that it's the right consistency. You can see now there's more of the yellow coming through on the bottom there. And then it is as simple as spraying. Now with these you can get lots of different things. All I'm doing on the side is just giving that a wipe on my raggy. I've actually got a brand new raggy. I'm quite happy at the minute. I've just bought a packet of new raggies because my other ones have gotten to the point where I can't. There's a lot of them I can't actually move because they're that thick with paint. So I've decided to invest. Right, So let's see, is this one going to play? Oh, it is. You can see this one's got a little bit of, it had a little bit of paint over the end, so it was being a little bit stubborn, but eventually it picked up. So as I was saying, there's quite a few different things you can do with these, but my favourite, this is my favourite thing to do with them, and it's just playing. It is literally just have a go, put some colours down. You can see that one's now decided to stop working. So what I will do, let me find my pokey tool. Right, get a pokey tool. First thing to try, you can see there's quite a lot of paint over the end of there. So I'm just going to pick that paint off and just get rid of it. And then what I'm going to do is get my raggy and actually spray onto the raggy, because you want to be a little bit more in control of what you're putting onto your actual piece. The next thing you can do is take the top off, and you can see here it's quite dark, which means there could be a plug of paint, so you can actually stick your tool down there. See, this tool is absolutely covered in paint because I do this quite a bit. You can also clean out inside here and just try and make sure it's as clear as possible. Now you can go down the route of using hot water if you want to. One last thing you can do before you resort to that, you take the lid off, you might find that some of that white gunk that was at the bottom might have clogged up in here. So if you actually spray, I'll show you on here, I hope you can see it. If you spray onto here, it kicks all the crud out the bottom. So all that's come out, and it then means you've got a clear run for it getting up. So let's see if that will work. I'm not promising it will. No, it's not playing. You know what I'll do in that case? I'll put it to one side and pick up a different colour. And that's one of the things with this that I tend to find is I don't get stressed if one isn't working. I just pick up a different colour because the colours are just fab. I tell you personally, I'm not as keen on the paler colours. So there's things like sand that I'm not as keen on. But with the brights, I absolutely love every single one. That one has got so much rubbish clogging that hole, there's no way it'll spray. See, I'm not perfect to tell you what to do, but I quite regularly don't do it myself. Let's see, oh yeah, that's working. There we go. Right, so this is just layer number one, and don't worry if you think it looks a mess. I personally quite like it. I like the way that you get this, it's almost like a swirling effect, and you'll notice when I heat it the paint moves, so you get even more swirling and mixing of the paint. So what I tend to do is actually go on it and then remove the heat gun so that I'm not moving it about too much. You also get these cells. If you don't want the cells, don't use a heat gun. It greatly reduces the cells. Personally, I really like these cells with different colours. It shows you the colours underneath, sometimes through to the base layer, sometimes just through to the colour directly under. So it's dependent on what you're after. But once you can see that's almost starting to set now, so I can heat up this area now and it's not moving. And then the magic happens. You can see here we start to get cracks, and that is just my favourite thing to happen. I'm hoping you can see that happening around here. It is the best thing with these. You can do it with normal acrylics as well, don't get me wrong, you can get this effect with normal acrylics, but there's just something so satisfying. So you can see here I'm starting to get it to set here, but I'm altering this corner a little bit, so I'm actually using the heat gun. My heat gun's on its last legs, so it keeps going on to this slow mode, but that's fine, it still does the job. I do actually have another one, I've just not taken it out of the box yet. I'm at that point of thinking, but it's still going, I don't want to give it up. Oh, you can really see the cracks there. And sometimes if I just give a bit of a batter, no, it's not playing today. Sometimes it decides to blow harder again. But you can see we're now getting this absolutely beautiful cracking and cells and the mixture of the colours. Now because we've put the dark blue on, which is called Night, this is the one that I use the most. This and the lemon are the two colours that I use more than any other colours in this range. They just go on everything that I use these paints on. But it makes it look almost celestial. I love it. Oh, there we go, it's decided to go a bit harder again. There you go. This was my first one of these heat guns. I don't want to get rid of it, and I've tried cleaning it out and things, but it's not working. It just jumps in and out. But I'm attached to it. So the reason that I'm not just showing you the before and after is so you can actually see the process. These lines are getting wider. The more you heat it, the wider they get. But then you also start to get, on the thicker areas, some bubbling. And the bubbling is, again, a real favourite of mine. I absolutely love it. Right, so that is layer number 1. And this bit down here isn't quite dry. If I just use my pokey tool, I can show you. It's still got a little bit of movement in it, so it's not quite dry. But I'm just going to start adding colour over the top. And the idea is you keep doing this until you're happy with what you've got on your piece. Don't worry about it if it looks horrible. I've said many times, things are going to go through an ugly phase. It's like puberty for your picture. It's that ugly, zitty stage that no one particularly likes. So that's what we're going through here. This is the ugly phase. So I'm going to add on here some green. Now what you can do, and what some people don't like, is the fact that when you spray, you get all the little spray and it dulls down all the colour. I look at this on screen and it doesn't show up as green as it is. In real life, this is such a vibrant green. But we'll not worry about that. So we're just adding other colours, and you can see how they mix. Straight away you're starting to get the mix and the production of cells. If you don't want to use the heat gun, you don't want to get the cracks, just let it dry naturally and it won't have the cracks in it. Just let me find some other colours. Oh, what about a bit of that one? Let's see which one of these will work. I like this colour as well. This looks like a brand new bottle. Oh no, it has been sprayed. I was going to say it hasn't been sprayed before, but it has. So we're now getting a very, very different look, which is fine. We're wanting different looks. You can see it, look at that. The way that's moving, it's just fabulous. I love it. Now you can let it move about a little bit, you can lift it and move it about itself. I like to let it do its own thing and see what I end up with, but I am going to go in with a heat gun again. So I'm keeping some of this celestial look, but it's got lots and lots of tiny, tiny, tiny dots of the other colours over it as well, so it looks buried, which is kind of what I'm after. Right, we've got quite a lot of this pinky red. This is the rouge, and it's a beautiful, beautiful, deep, deep pink. But I think we need a hint more yellow on that now. So I'm going to put some yellow just down this corner. I'm getting quite excited just by what's round the edges as well. Right, I've got a tangerine here, which is a slightly different orange. It's not quite. If I show you the Tangelo versus the Tangelo is a much deeper, it probably doesn't show up too well, but it is a deeper orange. This, I think, has more white in it. It's a paler orange, but I do like it. Let's see if that'll, yeah, bit of orange. Oh, love it. I think I'm going to go with a little bit more of the yellow up at the top, on top of that. Yes. And off a little bit down here. And then a little bit more of the lime. So it's just about building up the colours that you like. And one thing that I do with this is it's for me. It's not for anyone else. If you've ever watched any of Seth Apter's videos, he's just amazing. But he talks about layers a lot and talks about how you've not to be scared of what's underneath and about covering it up. Just keep going. It's an experiment. Every piece of art is an experiment. You don't know how it's going, particularly with this style of art, you don't know how it's going to turn out. So you just keep going. Oh, loving it. And even if you think, oh, I'm covering up all the layers underneath, you're not necessarily covering them up in a bad way. They're still going to peek through, particularly when we get these cells. You can still see that's the very first layer right there in the middle, that night, that dark blue colour. But now we've got all this other vibrancy on top of it. If you have one of the more powerful heat guns, I would suggest holding it further away when you're doing this, unless you actually want movement. And then once you've got the skin forming over the top, you'll find it's not moving as much, but you can judge it. And if you want to move it, just keep using your heat gun on it. Oh, look at that. Look at that cracking. That cracking's cracking. Oh, it just, I love the way it breaks through. So the thicker you get, the more layers you get. I mean, you can see here this beautiful, beautiful cracking that's going on. Oh, look at that orange peeping through there now. It's that cracking of the layer of the paint and showing what's underneath. I absolutely love. It is one of my all-time favourite effects. Here we have that tag where we've just put it on a black background so that we're not putting it on top of the mess that's still under here, basically. And it really shows off the colours. And it lets you see, if I hold it up, you can see a little bit better all those cracks that have been created by using the heat gun. And they just add such a texture. And then around this bit here and some down here, we've got some bubbling as well, very slight bubbling. So it's all adding. I don't know if you can actually, you can just about see the texture there when I've got the light shining on it differently. So there's lots and lots of texture in there, which is just what I absolutely love to have in my work. So this could just stay as it is and just be a tag. To me, I would happily put that up on a wall and just have a burst of colour. You can choose to then put a tie, some sort of a tie through the top of it, or you can start to add more into it. I've decided that I'm going to add more into this using gilding waxes. We've got a little bit of pink going on, a little bit of, what colour is this one? Bronze going on. I think they go quite nicely. Oh, I believe I have a turquoise. And oh, what else have I got? Oh, the orange, my favourite. So I'm going to do a little bit of playing about with these and see what we end up with. So these are the Pentart wax pastes. I got them off, I think it was Create and Craft, before the amalgamation. Anyway, got them off Selly Telly. They were on offer and I'd never used them before and thought, well, I might as well give them a go. Let's pop those out of the way. Oops. And I love them. I must say, I absolutely love them. Now, I tend to apply them with a brush, and the type of brush I prefer is something about that size. Now, it does stick to the brush quite strongly. I wouldn't call it bad, but you can clean them if you use some brush cleaning products. Right, so this you can see it's my favourite because it's the one that most has gone out of, but I absolutely love it. I mean, it's just, the one thing about them is they smell absolutely gorgeous. It's like they've got bergamot in them, so it's a lemony smell. It's absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to put this, I'm not going to put it onto the orange, which is where you'd expect it to be. I'm kind of going to just start putting it around other areas, because what it's going to do is go in to some of the gaps that we've got from where it's cracked. So it's just going to start to add little hints of shimmer, coloury shimmer. Love, love, love it. And what you can also do with this, if you want to, you can actually mix it with water and make it more fluid, but I like using it in this form. And you can see it's not totally changing the colour. You still have the other colour, but it's just adding an interesting shine. Let me see if I can show you down in this corner, because I think that's probably where I've got the best. You can see inside here, this bit here, the crack has actually started to take on some of the orange, so you can start introducing more colours that way. Now I'm just going to wipe this off because I've got a bit too much out there. I was a bit overzealous. I'm not going to use all that. I tend to use the same brush, and I think that's probably just due to the fact I don't like cleaning brushes. So I'm just going to add a little bit of this turquoise. And that turquoise colour, look at it, it's gorgeous. And it's actually called turquoise as well. Oh, genius. But it's just changing the look. So I'm not putting it over all of that, I'm just putting it over part of it and adding a little bit of shimmer and a little bit of a different colour into the gaps, because it picks them up. It's like it catches. Well, you can see it quite nicely there. It's caught really nicely. Let me see if I can get it on the camera. There, just in that crack there, it's caught really, really nicely with the turquoise. Love it. So I'm just doing tiny. Oh, I want to put a little bit more of that up here actually. So it's these little bits. You don't have to do them, but they just add more interest. I'm now going to use the pink, and this, it freaked me out when I first opened them, because you can see here it's kind of gone a bit of a funny split off colour. That's fine, it's just part of the manufacturing process. I've not found any problem with the pink despite having that in the lid. I think it's just the way that it's made. So I'm just going to add some bits in. So we're just adding interest onto this background. These are a really good way of doing it. Add a bit more in there. So you can just about see there's some little bits of shimmer on there, here and there. It's not over all of it, so it's added a little bit more interest. I'm not going to use the copper. I've decided against it because I've used this colour, so I don't really want to use that colour as well. Bronze, sorry, not copper. So put them to one side, get rid of the brush. Actually, what I will do with these, let me show you. I'm going to break the rules with regards to putting my finger in them. Don't do that. Onto this black, if I just rub that, you can just see it's such a beautiful colour. And then the shimmer on it, look at that shimmer. I do really like these. I'm going to have to do my favourite one now. Oh, the richness of that colour. It's fab. You can really see the orange on that. This is slightly hammered paper, so you can see there's some texture on it as well. Beautiful. Right, so what am I going to do with this next? You know what, I don't know that I want to do anything with it. I might put a sentiment on the middle of it. Oh no, I know what I can look at. Oh, this is a little tub of bits that I've done in moulds, and I think some of these bits might be interesting on here. So this is some, it's actually paper clay. Oh, I think that's going to look nice. And then having something, in fact, if I do it that way, then we can have something across the middle. What should we have? No, I don't like that on it. There's all sorts in here. Oh, what about that in the middle? No, don't like that. I'll just show you this. How fab is that? Love it. Oh, let's get rid of you. I think we've solved it. That's what's going to go on it. Yes. Right, I've been giving this a little bit of a ponder, and I've decided that I do like the bug on there, but I don't think the colours are quite right. So I am going to lift this out of the way, and I'm just going to get something a bit better in colour. I'm going to still use these. It's this one and this one I think I'm going to use, and I'm just going to brighten it up a little bit using these. So let me grab a brush. I need quite a small one for this, we'll use that one. Right, so I've decided these wings are going to have the orange, not the wings, the body, sorry. This is the body. So I'm putting it in, I'm trying to get it into the holes a little bit, because what I'm going to do once it's on is give it a rub off as well, just so that we are getting a nice dark colour. So you can see it looks much brighter now, a much deeper colour, which, because we've got quite a deep, quite a strong coloured background, we need a strong colour on our bug. Not on all of it, but on some of it. Let's tappity tap tap a little bit more. Right, so I'm going to get my raggy and I'm just going to give these a little bit of a rub. So what that's going to do is lift it from on top, but leave it in the space. Now I apologise if the camera's wiggling a little bit, it's attached to my desk and I'm not gentle when I do this, so it may be a little bit wiggly, but you can see there that's a bit more vibrant now. So I'm going to do the same with the turquoise. I'm just going to give this a bit of a rub on here just to get the excess off. As I said earlier, I don't tend to wash in between. The one I was using before was ended up in one of my jars of water, so I'm going to just add in. So this is the same colour as already on here. Oh, it's picking up some of the red orange as well, but not to worry. I'm putting much thicker layer on this time because I want it to get right down into those back bits. The last time I did this I was quite delicate when I was first colouring it up. It wasn't for a specific project, it was just trying them out on the bug and seeing how they looked. This time, because it's for a specific project, I know I want the vibrancy, so I'm gonna do a little bit of a rougher addition of colour, as in more rough, not with the way I'm doing it, as opposed to messy rough. You know what I mean. So I love this book. It's a Zuri mould, and I've got a few Zuri moulds now. I've probably got about 4 or 5, and I do rather like them. Might even be more than 4 or 5. And this one, if I turn it over, you can see it's a grey resin. So what I've done with that is I've used a quick set resin, just with a little bit of black colour in it, so it's come up grey because the resin base is white. But it's really quite solid, but still lightweight, and I love this book. It is one of the best moulds I think I own. It's got that hint of steampunk going on, and it's just stunning. Just move that off. It just decided to try and jump onto the body, which we don't want. Right, let's see what happens when we give this a rub and see if I like how it looks. So remember, when you're rubbing, you're just going to be taking the colour off the top. Oh yes, oh yes, that's rather nice. So you've still got the colour underneath, but then you've got this grey coming through on top, so it really makes the anatomy stand out. There you go, you can really see it there. Rather nice. Now if I bring this back in, you'll see now it's much more in keeping. I much prefer that. In fact, I might put a little bit of the turquoise down on that bottom bit there, just because I can. I think it'll look good having that there, so let's do it. And one of the things that I love about everything that I create, I never really know where it's going to go. I can have a basic plan, but I'm never afraid to go, you know what, we'll try something a bit different, or we'll change that slightly. Because if you're sticking to a plan, you're not experimenting and you're not learning. And I learn every single time I make something. Give that a quick wipe off. There we go. Right, so to stick this onto here, I am going to use gel medium. Now, one of my favourites is the Liquitex gel medium. That's super matte heavy, ultra matte heavy will do. Just matte gel. Matte gel will do. There we go. So I've got a few different ones of these, as you've just heard. This is the matte gel. Just finding a spatula. Now I do really like the Liquitex ones. And I couldn't really tell you why. I like the thickness of them. Now the three that I've got of the Liquitex, there's different thicknesses. This is the thinnest one. But I do love the thickness. I'm not worrying about these pieces because I'm going to be sticking it on here at an angle. I just want to make sure that I've got enough glue on the main body. Because if the body sticks, these pieces are going to stick, and the other bits are going to be hanging over the edge anyway. There. That's it down. I'm not going to change my mind now. It's on. So yeah, the gel mediums, I've got different ones. I've got the Pretty Gets Gritty one, I've got the Liquitex one, and I've got some others that I can't quite remember what they are and I can't see them just at the moment. But the Liquitex is by far my favourite, and it's the one that I've repeat bought several times now. But yeah, I'm rather liking the look of that. Now I can't decide, I just snurged it. So that's one thing, the gel mediums take quite a while to dry. If you want something that dries quicker, you need to use a different kind of glue. But your gel mediums are stronger and they also have longevity. They don't make things fall off as they get older. They actually stay stuck for a long period of time, which is what you want on a piece of artwork. So I'm going to pop that to one side, and then once it's all dried I will put a picture at the end and you can see how it looks. I'll do some close-ups as well of the cracking and everything, and what I will also do is finish off around the edges of this, but you don't need to see me. I've decided what I'm going to do is just use one of the waxes around the edges, so I'll show you that on the photos as well. But for now, thank you very much for watching and I'll see you again. Bye bye now.